Hey guys, just going to go through a few tips of some things that I think are important and essential for health. So I think if you want, I was talking about hip and shoulder mobility earlier. So I'm just having a reflection on some weight training exercises and the best use of weights that you can do. I think one great exercise on a push day, for example, would be, instead of doing chest all the time, is actually to start with your legs and shoulders. So one great movement is, well, let's make it up. I'd say one thing you can do is, for example, a barbell box squat, where you go down, you come up, and then you press the weight overhead. Okay, so that's one. Another one you could do is a barbell dumbbell squat to push or behind the neck press. So as long as you're able to move your hips back and then come up, that's a great exercise. Control it on the way down, come up. So with a heavy weight, that's going to get your heart rate going and getting peripheral heart action going, which is techniques used by the likes of legends like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Lee, who back in the 60s they were into peripheral heart action, which is where you use the lower and upper body in conjunction together. So that's a great way of doing that. And yeah, so that's my idea on weight training tips and things that you can do. And I'm thinking about people across the board with, let's say, poor posture, back issues. Now, you've got to be careful of this. If you've got back issues, it's not necessarily that you want to use weights. Sometimes you might want to use a stick, just do the motion. If you've got a healthy spine and you're muscular and you're strong and you don't have injuries, then it's a great exercise to pile on for fitness, for strength, for releasing testosterone, or getting testosterone and having a healthy body. If you are injured in the lower back or the shoulder area, I would recommend you use resistance bands and sticks and weights to get the motions better, because a lot of people can't actually do the motion. I'm very flexible and mobile, so you might see me doing it easily, but then if you actually were to replicate it, you wouldn't get that perfectly. Some of you might do. There's a lot of engagement, a lot of flexibility in there that maybe as a non-professional you might not see, and as a professional you might see. I used to compete in karate, so I've got, without bragging, incredible mobility. It's what I've been complimented by martial artists and Olympic lifters, personal trainers. I'm not the strongest, it's not my thing, but I'm definitely, I would say, one of the most mobile people that you've got, which helps me with combat. That's why I'm so great at combat. That's why I've been pretty good at, always been complimented on my combat skills. Not particularly dance, because dance is more fluid. And yeah, this kind of stuff helps. To me, this is the kind of stuff that is missing link in other practices. Let's say you're into dance or yoga, Pilates, and all these other things. You can't replace strength and conditioning like that in terms of the mobility, the posture, the joint and ligament strength or betterment that you get from a movement like that, for example. And yeah, another thing I wanted to look at today is I am melding what I see as spiritual and physical. I think that's an interesting thing. I'm big into the Eastern arts of, anything from Feng Shui to, for example, what's the Indian one? Ayurveda to meditation, and a lot of the Eastern stuff's really interesting from a spiritual side. They talk about chakra points, and I've been looking into the root and the sacral chakras. Now, I've also been into the Western science of detoxification, And I've seen doctors write about this, and there are books written by doctors on detoxification. So, I'm going to assume there must be some form of evidence or data. I know some people like references to what they say. I mean, if it's a doctor, it's going to have validity, right? They've got science behind them, they're practitioners. And what I remember one doctor saying was that you want to eat kind of as many colors of food that you possibly can. Now let's take this and merge this with spirituality, which talks about chakra points and the meaning behind chakras. And let's just play an imaginary idea that perhaps a chakra point in the belly could be linked with also, for example, your energy system. So according to the Indian traditions, the orange chakra point is to do with physical activity and also pleasure, intimacy, things like that. So, and it also happens to be in the gut area. Now, if you think of orange foods, I would say it's interesting that I was reading up on something on testosterone. Eggs are orange, so I was looking at that. I was looking at carrots, they're also orange, so they're good for physical vibrancy, and so are oranges. Oranges are orange. I also have a book called, where is it? It's the Vertical Diet, and this guy is a bodybuilder, and he's in his 50s, and yeah, he talks about oranges, eggs, even butter here, and carrots. He's got a chart here, Vertical Diet. Now, he's not a doctor, but I believe, if I'm not wrong in saying, last time I read this, oh, so there's a co-author here, Damon McCune, who has completed all but his dissertation on a PhD in exercise physiology. Is an exercise physiologist and registered dietitian. So there's scientific backing to this. It's not just completely made up. And I've got another book that talks about hormones and food. So food is an important thing. This is an actual doctor, Massimo Spettini. He's an Italian doctor. He talks about hormones and foods. He doesn't go into food coloring. There's another doctor who wrote about, the digestive system, detoxification, and the colors of the food that you have. So I found that interesting. Now, this might not be for all of you because some of you might be vegan or vegetarian and stuff like that. But here seems to be a template of healthy food diets. You've got here, he's got now obviously beef and steak as important for you. That's like red meat. Now that of course is up to you if you feel like that's something that you're okay with having. Some of you might be pescatarian, vegetarian, whatever. So, I'm not pushing meat on anyone. If you are pescatarian, salmon is recommended there. White rice is recommended there. Yogurt's recommended there. I think yogurt's important to address and look at, either if it's kefir or yogurt, because when I was on a paleo diet and I wasn't having any dairy, I actually had gut issues. And so, yeah, that can help a lot. It's interesting that he's got oranges, eggs. I don't know if that's nuts. Yeah, that's nuts. Peppers. Personally, I'd say a lot more greens. But let's go for the idea of a vegan or vegetarian, and then go for as many colors as you can. Let's look at some ideas. So, for example, you've got oranges, you've got watermelon, you've got mango. This is yellow. We've got, what else have we got? you've got green, you've got apples, you've got loads of greens. Light blue. There aren't really any light blue foods that I know of, unless you do. But let's say that for burgundy, you've got blueberries. Purples and reds, you've got raspberries. So onions as well. So look at different colored foods you can have, and then combine that, have them separately, and combine that with, let's say, I've got a rule I've written with meat or fish or protein or whatever you think. But I actually wrote something this morning. It was inspired, and I think this might be useful for you. I just had a pre-workout, so I was a little bit like in a heightened state, let's say, with a workout. I put protein and green, fruits alone, tea and water for the rest of the day, have the fats to keep in between, and keep the dirty doctor at bay. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to look at as many different colors as you can and to eat as healthy as possible. Hope that helps, and enjoy your day.